welcome back to today's episode of the Witness the Fitness podcast, and have I got a thought-provoking episode for you today. We are going to explore the kind of intersection, the crossover of psychology and health to help you achieve your fitness goals that little bit easier. So we're going to be kind of nosediving into different psychological mindset biases that I know of, and then how they actually hinder people, these biases, and importantly what we can do about it, and then hopefully some practical tips so you don't fall into these biases that actually stop you achieving your health and fitness goals. So the 5 that we're going to look at today is all or nothing thinking, and that's a quite common one. Confirmation bias, you may have heard that before. Instant gratification bias and how that affects people towards their health and fitness goals. Social comparison bias and loss aversion bias. Do not worry if some of them terms and names kind of like, you was like, what? What's that? I'm going to explain it in detail. I'll keep it as simple as I can. On each one, I'll kind of tell you about how it interacts and blocks health and fitness goals, and importantly what you can do about it to overcome these psychological mindset biases to make sure they're not blocking you from actually achieving your health and your fitness goals. So let's get stuck into it.
All or nothing mindset. Let's go.
So the first bias that we're going to look at is really common. I see a lot of people day to day that fall into this kind of way of thinking, and it's the all or nothing kind of bias, or the all or nothing mindset. So this mindset kind of leads for people to view their health and fitness and their efforts around it as quite extreme kind of points. It's either all or nothing. They're either doing it 100% right, or they're not doing it at all, and there is no kind of middle bit in between. So that is the all or nothing bias in its most simplest terms. You're either full on it or you're not on it at all. So you'll see this kind of manifest in different ways. So whether it's kind of like people sticking to an exercise routine or sticking to a kind of healthy eating diet or plan, they'll always look at it in terms of like a level of like black and white thinking, and if it's then not all or nothing, they'll then, or it can lead to them kind of sabotaging their process. So let's say they are making progress, but because they're all in this all or nothing mindset and they're not doing absolutely all, it then like, oh, what's the point? I'm getting nowhere, because they've got this poor mindset overall. They'll kind of cut off even small progress because it's not absolutely everything that they could be achieving. And as you can imagine, that in the essence is a bit perfectionist. It's not a good mindset to be in, you know. That perfectionist versus progress mindset, they're leading towards it has to be perfect, when in reality it doesn't, and therefore this can lead to them just sabotaging their progress overall. So maybe think about, have you ever felt like you've maybe had a slip up? So diet's quite a common one. I've been eating healthily all week. I've been doing really well. And then you had one little slip up at the weekend, and that's it. It's done. And you just quit and give up because you had one little slip up. And then your all or nothing mindset's kicked in. And because it's not gone as perfect and as full on as it could be, let's say, that you sabotage or quit. But you quitting is just an example of this all or nothing mindset at work, and there's definitely a better way to kind of deal with it. And let's be honest, that kind of perfectionist viewpoint, that all or nothing, it needs to be done full on or not at all, is really demotivating, because you're setting unrealistic expectations. You're overdoing your expectations, where you need to lower your expectations of what you can achieve, what would be seen as progress. You need to really think around your goals as not this kind of perfect linear line, but just this kind of up and down, and you have to take wins and losses of various levels, and there's going to be this, grey bit. If we go back to the black and white analogy, there's a grey bit in the middle that you need to operate. Don't go to either end, operate in the middle. And this goes back to what I've just said. You should be focusing and celebrating progress over perfection. Perfection is a complete lie. It is a complete lie. And really, in my opinion and in my experience, people use perfection or not attaining perfection as just a ready-made-able excuse to quit. Oh, I'm not that good. Well, of course you're not. But because they're not perfect, they quit. And it's a really negative mindset, and that's why they never get anywhere. So as we move forwards, if you have got a little bit of an all or nothing mindset, you need to break this down and start just kind of learning to celebrate your small victories, learning from setbacks or kind of bumps in the road you have, rather than letting it kind of completely derail your entire effort up to date. All the best achievements I've done, and personally, and the achievements that I help my clients and members do, is always achieve with small, incremental kind of progress markers. It just needs to be small. And it doesn't matter how small it is, it's still progress, and that will mount up like compound interest style, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more progress, a little bit more progress, a tiny bit more, and then when you look at it as a whole, you've progressed so much. Where if you have that all or nothing mindset, the moment you had that first little bit of progress, because it wasn't enough and it wasn't perfect, you quit. So you see people with all or nothing mindset quitting early, and the people that just kind of focus on small, methodical, victories, focusing on that and embracing that journey, generally stick to it in the long run and generally achieve their goals. So the top tips really I would give you for, we'll say, dealing with the all or nothing mindset is first recognizing that you may be thinking like it and you may be unaware of it at the moment. So you need to be aware of your overall approach and mindset. Does it fall into that all or nothing category? Are you a little bit of a perfectionist? It's really not that good, and you should really focus on the progress. So the tips would be identify where you're having this all or nothing mindset, and then strip that down and start looking at your goals around that all or nothing mindset, and just look at, okay, every time I do even get a small kind of bump in the road or a small kind of progression, I'm either going to learn from it or I'm going to celebrate a victory. And it's just stripping it right down to its bare bones to help you be a lot more realistic around your progress overall. So remember, you don't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to be black and white. There's that grey area. You don't have to be perfectionist. You just need to be progressive and celebrate your small wins along the way.
Confirmation bias? Let's go!
The second mindset we're going to look at, or the second mindset bias we're going to look at, is confirmation bias. You may have heard of this bias before because it happens in numerous ways, in numerous kind of spheres within the world. But we're going to look at it very much from a health and fitness perspective, and how, if you've got confirmation bias, how it may block your health and fitness goals. The problem with confirmation bias is it's stealthy, it's sneaky. Because you may have this kind of mindset bias without even realizing it. It can be hard to kind of figure it out that you are falling into this confirmation bias trap. So what is it? This bias pretty much helps your mind, or kind of it's your mind bias that is leading you to seek out information that confirms an existing belief. So you've already got this way of thinking. Because you've got this way of thinking, your mind will just look for information that backs that up, so you can pretty much go, see, I'm right, and I'm right on the right track. Where in reality, you may be kind of either ignoring or avoiding any evidence that is contrary to what you think about, even if it makes more sense, even if it's going to help you, you may completely avoid it. So let me give you the health and fitness example. You go on a weight loss journey and you're thinking about going on a fad diet, and your common belief is that carbohydrates make you fat. Because you've got this pre-existing thought, you're then going to seek out either evidence or stories or supporting information around a diet that pretty much backs up that carbohydrates make you fat. And you will dismiss or you'll glaze over other research or testimonials or talking points that is contradictory to your current thinking. So I've seen this regularly with people, and I still hear it, that carbohydrates make you fat, when in fact it's not true. Calories, too many calories and lack of exercise. I know that's very simplistic, but it's pretty much bang on. That makes you fat. But the people that believe it, and they'll believe it for numerous reasons, will then start looking at things like keto diets, the old Atkins diet. They'll look for people that completely cut out carbohydrates as way as backing up their initial thought to then, move forwards. But the best way to explain the problem with the kind of confirmation bias is it's really tunnel visioned. You're just looking at one particular thing, and ignoring the rest of the horizon. Now that's got problems, because if you want, the best way to move forwards, then you want a lot of information so you can make the best understanding of it. And that confirmation bias is just going to funnel you in to just focus on one aspect that just backs up what you already believe. I mean, I see a lot of clients with confirmation bias. So when I first sit down and talk to them about food and nutrition, let's just say they have got that carbohydrate makes you fat confirmation bias. Sometimes it's really hard for me, because they've got this bias, when I'm kind of going, it's not carbs, it's your overall diet. We need to look at how many calories overall. The fact that you lost weight last time is because you removed the carbs, and by default you then removed calories. So the fact that you removed the carbohydrates, you reduced the calories, that's why you lost weight. Technically, we could have done that with any of the food groups, remove the amount of calories from that food group and you'd have lost the same amount of weight. Now, the people that are then suffering with confirmation bias look at me going out like, no, that's not true. That's, it's the carbs. I've read around it and it's that. It's nothing else. When in fact, in the nicest possible way, I'm the one with more information, more experience, more testimonials, and they're wrong in the nicest possible way, and it's their confirmation bias that's blocking them understanding the whole horizon of information they need to really maximize their health and fitness goals. So the first thing you need to do is recognize that you may have confirmation bias. And even if you don't recognize it, there's a thing that you can do for everything within life. It don't have to necessarily just be health and fitness. But you need to commence a journey, let's just say your health and fitness journey, with an open mind. And you need to be in a position where you're a little bit more kind of critical with different approaches. Now, I've got no qualms with people coming to me and asking me questions about the information and advice I give. Even if they come at me with like critical questioning, I know enough about what I'm doing to then explain it a little bit more, or fill in worries and holes that they may have around the information. Where someone with confirmation bias won't be open to that and will just close it down, usually at the detriment of their own progress overall. So if you've got, or you think you may have, a bit of confirmation bias that might be blocking your health and fitness goals, go back to some information that you may be reading around exercise and diet, and just approach it again with a bit more of an open mind and a bit more willingness to just evaluate it and look at different information, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable or maybe even confuses you a little bit. This is not necessarily a bad thing, because it's going to make you at least take that information and be a bit more thoughtful.
Instant gratification? Let's go!
Mindset bias number 3 is instant gratification. And it's a pain in the arse that we all suffer with, where we will prioritize immediate reward, immediate feel good over long-term success or benefits. And there'll be loads of examples that we can look at that in terms of health and fitness. So first one might be that you choose an overindulgent food over the healthier option because I just want that really nice taste just for them 5 minutes, opposed to me eating this, and actually in the long run I'll feel a bit more energized, I won't feel as fatigued, and actually I might lose a bit of weight. A lot of people take the instant reward of that nice taste over the long-term benefit of eating more healthily. Another example might be that, you know, you're planned in for your exercise routine, you've booked in for your session, but actually something a little bit we'll just say nicer, where, you know, your other half has gone, should we have a night in and binge watch that Netflix program, and because you want to catch up with the episode and keep up to date with it, you take that instant gratification over the long-term success of what you was actually building. You know, you should have potentially gone for the workout and kept your little progresses building up, but you took just that immediate reward over the benefit that you're actually wanting to do. Now, this is one of the weirdest things I find with life, but it's completely true. Everything that's generally bad for you always gives you an instant gratification and long-term issue. Most of the time, everything good for you doesn't give you an instant gratification, but it gives you long-term success and benefit. So let's just take, you know, really crudely, the chocolate bar. It always tastes nice, so I get that immediate gratification. But the more and more I do that, it builds up, and in the long term, I generally don't like what it gives me. The exercise, let's say the positive habit, you know, when you're training hard and you're pushing your boundaries and you're pushing your body, which is needed to develop, you won't necessarily get that instant gratification. It can suck. I know, I'm there regularly. I train pretty much every day, and a lot of people are like, I don't know how you do it, you must love it. And like, not always. Sometimes training's really hard. However, my focus is on the long-term benefit that it gives me. So how can we deal with this? There's some really top tips I can give you. One of the first things we can do is try and flip what I've just talked about. So with stuff that gives us instant gratification, we could potentially try to make that instant gratification not quite as comfortable, and flip that around to the good habits where we don't get that initial kind of positivity and instant gratification. We need to try and put something in there that then is a bit more positive overall. So let's go the positive one first. Let's say I want to train, but that hard bit, I don't really get the instant gratification. This is where you might kind of join a supportive group, so group exercise, where you're going to get people around you, you know, telling you, oh, you've done an amazing job there, and kind of, well done, that was an amazing effort, and praise your effort overall. It will make you feel better about it, and you will get a level of instant gratification from this good habit. And then further down the line, we get the benefit that we want. And then with the chocolate bar, we try and implement it so we don't get necessarily that as bigger instant gratification kick. And, you know, some of the methods you might use might be a little bit, we'll just say extreme. But, you know, let's say you have a chocolate bar, you may decide that you need to then get into the habit of messaging a friend and telling them, oh, I've had this chocolate bar, and the deal between you is to kind of go, okay, now what did you do that for? Make it more of a negative aspect, or imagine the guilt and regret you might feel the day after. You might put a little note on, I don't know, let's say you got a chocolate tin in the cupboard. You might prior put a little note there reminding, you know, how disappointed you will be if you eat one out of sync of your diet. So we're just trying to set things up where you start associating something that's usually instant gratification and associate it a little bit more negatively, or something with a consequence. Overall, I think the best practical tip for kind of overcoming instant gratification and kind of staying on track with your goals overall is kind of practicing that mindfulness, or the focus on the long-term benefit of the healthy, good habits rather than immediate pleasures. It does take discipline, it does take practice, but I think you need to start focusing a lot more on, like, what do I want out of this? Does this current action and habit help me in the long run, or does it hinder me? And if it hinders you, stop, reassess, don't fall into the instant gratification bias, and focus on your overall long-term progress and success.
Social comparison bias? Let's go!
Mindset bias number 4 is a social comparison bias. This one's pretty straightforward, and it's really on trend at the moment with the kind of the way that we live our lives and the way we communicate. It's never been easier to compare ourselves to others. All you've got to do is pick up your phone, open social media apps like TikTok and Instagram, and especially, you know, the health and fitness stuff, you'll just see kind of different appearances, different fitness achievements, just what people apparently are doing on the other side of the camera. And this is where social comparison bias kind of can kick in, and it leads to like feelings of inadequacy, low self-esteem, and it can set up like unrealistic expectations. So if you click on, just type in Instagram, men's fitness or women's fitness, I'll guarantee if you type in men's fitness, you'll probably be seeing a load of big men with rippling abs, muscles, lifting weights. If you type in fitness women, you're probably going to see some big booted, bikini lacing, very slim. You know, that overall extreme of, the opposite end, where most people aren't anywhere near there, and actually health is in the middle. But because you see it, and you see a lot of it, you just fall into that comparison trap, and it's not helpful. It's not helpful in any way. Like I said, it lowers your self-esteem. It sets unrealistic expectations. You're not going to feel adequate. All of them are kind of going to stop you pursuing that behavior and that health and fitness goal overall. So it's really important that we kind of learn to navigate that space to make sure it's not derailing us. And, comparison can be a positive thing, but when we, looking at the examples, what we've just had, it isn't a positive thing in any way, shape or form, because the kind of landscape is blurred. It's not real. So, let's look at what should we do with that? So you open your phone or your tablet or whatever, and you're just bombarded with seemingly perfect bodies on social media, and it's a lie. One strategy is to kind of get into your social media feed and start just removing stuff that plays into that image, and start looking for and cultivate the kind of channels that are included, a little bit more diverse, or a bit more kind of realistic / I hate to say this word, normal. This is a shameless plug, but if you look at my Instagram page on Witness to Fitness training studios, WTF training studios. Just skim through. I give a lot of information there, and anyone that achieves at the studio, and I celebrate all achievements, small and big, you will see a diverse portfolio of different sorts of people that, you know, don't fall into this supposed perfect body trap overall. My advice is like, go find more, because I'm not the only one out there. You know, it's just the algorithms push it towards you, because generally what people are clicking on, but it's not good. So get into your social media account, start blocking and removing the accounts that kind of portray that perfect body, and start following more that is a bit more balanced, we'll say. The second thing is developing what I'm going to say a proper social circle, where, you know, that social comparison is more of a positive one. So a social comparison on your phone via a social media app is not positive. I will guarantee if you came to my studio and you had different people around you that are supportive, generally pulling in the same direction, looking at their health and fitness goals as a positive thing, that overall is going to be a really good thing to kind of put yourself around. So quicker way to say that is kind of surround yourself with positive influences that kind of celebrate your small successes, not looking at perfection, not kind of self-absorbed and portraying what you're trying to avoid on the social media anyway. Those people exist. Think about where you're getting your social influences and make them more positive overall. There's an old saying that can really summarize the kind of, it can summarize the social comparison, and that is, comparison is the thief of joy. And in this example, that's really true. Comparison is the thief of joy. So how do we deal with that? Is like, stop comparing yourself. Focus on your own journey and, you know, celebrate your kind of your progress. And if you do need, we'll just say, comparison, it's not in the way, you know, let's just use the word more positive comparison. Those people should be helping you push on your own journey and celebrate your successes still, rather than using, well, you should be doing what I'm doing. It's not about that. It's about them and that positive comparison to kind of go, yeah, you can achieve what I'm doing, but it's going to be like in your own increments and in your own progress overall. So comparison is a thief of joy. Focus on your own journey. Celebrate your progress, no one else's.
Loss aversion bias? Let's go!
Last but by no means least, the final mindset bias we're going to look at that can block you from achieving your goals is loss aversion bias. You see this a lot with beginners and people that are trying something new. Basically, this mindset bias involves a reluctance to take a risk that could result in a loss, even if the risk can also lead to significant benefit and gain. You know, in the nicest possible way. You don't dare. Bit of a cop-out, bit of a wimp, bit of a bottler might be a way to look at this. I know that sounds a bit harsh, but that's pretty much what loss aversion bias is. Some people that's not willing to risk anything because there's a small chance of, you know, failure and loss, where, you know, they're not looking at the positive side and the significant benefit and gain they may get instead. In terms of like health and fitness, this might look like, oh, I'm just going to stick to my same old workout routine or exercise habit because, you know, if I change it, I might fail, or I might get a setback, or I might get an injury, or I might put on weight. They're focusing on the loss, the failure element that comes from making a change, opposed to the overall positivity of like, no, you might get better, you might gain from it, you might benefit. So really the question is like, how do we build the confidence or the mindset to then get over this loss aversion and, a fear of failure, and be a lot more kind of proactive and positive towards maybe making a change that will make you better overall in the long run? The biggest thing I think overall is dealing with that fear of failure. Failure is your best friend. I'm sure I've said this somewhere, shape or form ever. Failure is an example of where you didn't do well, and because of that, it's a learning experience. It's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to get better. You just need to look at it square in the face for that to happen. So we need to shift your mindset from kind of fearing failure to embracing it. Not looking for it, we don't want to fail, but it's understanding that it is inevitable part of improvement and progress. You're going to fail from time to time. Sometimes it'll be mild, sometimes it'll be catastrophic, but you should learn to embrace it as an opportunity to look at maybe some things that you didn't do that well, or maybe some points that you need to revisit and work on. And when you do this well, you will get better. There's a beauty to it. So we need to shift your mindset. Will that happen overnight? Not at all. But we need to start working on shifting that mindset where you're not afraid to fail. When I look at how I failed in the past, or how clients and members have failed in the past, one of the most common things is setting up too big of a goal or too big of a challenge. It's like beyond them. Now, goals should be outside your comfort zone. So they should be challenging, but they shouldn't be like near impossible or like catastrophic in any way. So when you are setting up goals, one way to get over this kind of fear of failure is to build the chance of success. Set yourself up for success. That can look as simple as starting small and incorporating small minor changes and variations to your routine, whether that be exercise, diet, and then gradually increase the level of challenge and difficulty over time. Let's give you an example of what this might look like in terms of fitness and getting strong. So I want to get stronger and I want to deadlift 100 kg, let's say. Now, a too big of a goal would be like, I can barely lift 30 kg. But over the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to start lifting as heavy as I can, as soon as I can. The chance of me failing, getting injured, having a setback is now significantly high, because my method, the way I'm changing, the way I'm applying these changes is too extreme and beyond my current capability by way too much. I'm probably going to fail and it's going to be catastrophic. I don't need to do it that way. What happens if I had the same goal? I want to lift 100 kg. I'm about 30 kg at the moment on a deadlift. But over the next few weeks and months, I just logically make minor changes and variations. So I'm like, I'm going to do a few weeks at 35. And when I got good at that, I'm going to do a few weeks at 40, 50, 60, 65. I got stuck at 70 for a little bit. I went and spoke to a trainer and got up to 80 kg. And then before you know it, because you've made these small, minor changes, incorporated them into your routine and gradually increased the level of difficulty and challenge over time, bam, I've achieved a 100 kg lift. Yes, it was challenging, but it wasn't catastrophic. And the failures that I had when I got stuck at various weights were small and fleeting and simpler to overcome than when I tried, just jumping at the goal 2 feet into deep end. Now that example is a lot easier to attain if you've got like support from a coach or friends or family that can help provide encouragement, give you a bit more accountability, help you kind of control when and how you step out of your comfort zone, making sure that you're not overstretching yourself, making sure you're working hard enough. You just need to find the right people with the kind of right mindset and positivity overall. So with, the loss aversion, fearing failure, just remember that success is not linear in any way, shape or form. And you just need to embrace your overall journey, embrace the challenges that are there, embrace opportunities that come from failure inevitably, and taking ownership of that will always bring about the kind of best version of yourself. So do you fear failure? Have you put yourself off doing stuff because you're focusing on negative outcomes rather than the positivity that may come from it? As you move forward for your goals, set yourself up for success. And inevitably, when you do occasionally fail, it'll be less catastrophic. You will learn the lessons and you will achieve your health and fitness goals. So in today's episode of the Witness to Fitness podcast, we've explored the relationship between your mindset, your psychology, and how it may be kind of helping or hindering you within your health and fitness journey. We've dissected 5 common biases: the all or nothing, the confirmation bias, the instant gratification, social comparison, and loss aversion, and how they may hinder our overall progress, and importantly, what you can do about that. The key to it is kind of recognizing these biases, and that you will in some way, shape or form have these mindset biases. And when you're kind of aware of it, you can then implement strategies to overcome them. One of the best takeaways I think from it is embracing progress over perfection and celebrating small victories along the way. Staying open-minded to new approaches and kind of look at information, even if it makes us feel uncomfortable. Delaying gratification for the overall benefit of long-term success. And seeking support from kind of like positive people that can help us navigate challenges that we may face. And overall, you're going to move closer to your health and fitness goals, better down the road with your health and fitness journey, and just become more resilient in both mind and body. I think the biggest thing that today's episode is really kind of encompasses and sums up that you and your health and fitness goals is not just about physical effort. It's about understanding and managing your mindset and maybe some psychological tendencies that we all fall into. So just by being more mindful and aware and, being aware of the way you look at particular health and fitness goals and the way that you want to move forwards, and adopting strategies that counteract some of our negative biases that we may have, you will be more empowered. You'll have better results to make healthier choices and sustain kind of long-term progress overall. If you enjoyed today's podcast and the theme around that kind of mindset bias and you want to hear more, then let me know. There is other mindset biases that we all have and share that really intrude into our health and fitness goals and life in general, if we're honest. If you want to hear more, then let me know and I'll do some more mindset biases, because we've only looked at 5 today. As always, until next time, thank you for joining me on the Witness to Fitness podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And in the meantime, stay mindful, stay motivated, stay active, stay healthy, and have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Witness to Fitness podcast. The place to be for everything fitness, health, and nutrition. Tune in